Recording.
Okay. Might have to cut it.
1, 3, a mile 1, 1,
2, 3, 4,
5.
Okay.
All right. All right. So nearly 2/3 of Americans are worried that they won't have enough money to retire on. That's a scary thought. You know, years ago when you worked for a company for 20 or 30 years, you could retire with a pension, and then you would have Social Security, so you wouldn't have to worry about your income after you're retired. But the days of a pension are long gone, and Social Security, by the time I'm ready to retire, may or may not be there. I might only get 75% of the benefit that somebody who retires today would get. So that means the responsibility is going to fall on us. We need to invest for ourselves so that we can be comfortable in retirement. So today I'm going to talk about starting early to take advantage of compound interest. We're going to talk about increasing the amount that we invest on an annual basis. We're going to talk about what to invest in and what companies, where can you go to invest. So in his book, Money Master the Game, Tony Robbins shares an example of two twin brothers, William and James. They just turned 65 and they're ready to retire. Now, William got a jump start on his brother. He opened a retirement account at the age of 20 and he invested $4,000 annually for the next 20 years. So from 20 to 40, he invested $4,000 a year. Then he stopped. His brother didn't start investing until he turned 40, and then he invested $4,000 a year for the next 25 years. So William invested for 20 years, James invested for 25 years, but he got a later start. They both invested at a 10% return year over year. So at the end, James invested for 25 years, William invested for 20 years. Who do you think had more money? Well, if you see where this is going, William had more money in his account because he got started earlier. But what might surprise you would be that even though William invested $80,000, James invested $100,000, William had nearly 6 times the amount in his account that James did. He had about $2.5 million in his account, while James only had $400,000. And that's because he took advantage of all of those extra years of compounding interest. Compounding interest is where you get interest on the amount that you invested and also the gains on your investments or the interest that you earned. It's also important to avoid fees. Mutual funds have very high fees. Sometimes your 401k can have high fees that will cut back on your investments. 1 or 2% fees can take a big chunk out of your total returns. In his book, John Bogle on Investing, The First 50 Years, he writes, over the past quarter century, fund management and marketing costs have confiscated up to 40% of the stock market's cumulative profits, leaving only 60% for the human beings who, after all, put up 100% of the initial capital and took 100% of the risks. So try to find something with low fees to invest in, invest early, and take advantage of your compound interest. Now, what should I invest in? Mutual funds, index funds, REITs, bonds, stocks. There's so many choices. Make it make sense. Well, I would advise that you follow the advice of an expert investor. Warren Buffett is one of the best investors of all time. And he states in his Berkshire Hathaway letter to the shareholders back in 2013, the goal of the non-professional should not be to pick winners, but should rather be to own a cross-section of businesses in an aggregate that are bound to do well. A low-cost S&P 500 index fund will achieve this goal. So the S&P 500 index owns a small portion of the 500 biggest companies in the country And so just investing in that one simple fund, you own a little bit of many companies. And so as a whole, as the market does well, your investments will do well. He goes on to say in the same letter, my money is where my mouth is. What I'm advising here is essentially identical to instructions I've laid out in my will. When I die, I want the cash to be delivered to a trustee for my wife's benefit. And my advice to the trustee is put 10% of the cash in short-term government bonds and 90% in a low-cost S&P 500 index fund. I suggest Vanguard's. I believe the trust's long-term results from this policy will be superior to those attained by most investors. So don't worry about trying to pick what's going to be the next Amazon or Apple. If you invest in a simple index fund, then your stocks will grow over time and you can take advantage of the compound interest. Now, where are you going to find these index funds? Where do you invest your money? Well, if you have a full-time job, your employer probably offers you a 401k program. The benefits of a 401k would be that oftentimes your employer is going to match some of your contributions. So you can go into your fund and contribute maybe 3% of your income, 5%, 6%, and your employer is going to match some of that money and it's going to grow. And that's like free money that your employer is giving you on top of your investments. Now you might say, I can't afford to invest. I don't have the money to invest. Well, I understand that. Cost of living has gone up, groceries are more expensive, rent's more expensive. It's hard to set aside 10 to 15% of your income to invest when you're barely scraping things together. So in his book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, Ramit Sethi recommends getting started with a small amount. Maybe you can't do 10 or 15%, but start with 2, maybe 3% of your income. Start investing that to build the habit. And most 401ks or other retirement plans give you the option to increase your benefit, your investments annually. So it's real easy for us to plan to do good things for our future selves because we can say, you know what? I don't feel like going to the gym today. I don't feel like watching what I eat today, but tomorrow I can do that. I'll get up in the morning, I'll go to the gym, work out, and I'll feel great. So today, maybe you don't feel like you can invest 10 or 15%, but you can go into your retirement plan and start at 2%. Then every year, increase that by another 2%, which you're not going to notice as it adds up. So this year you invest 2%, next year it's 4%, then 6, then 8, 10. In 5 years you'll be investing 12% of your annual income for your retirement. Now, we're going to wrap things up. There's a Chinese proverb that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now. So again, in his book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich, Ramit says that it is more important to get started than to spend an exhaustive amount of time researching. So you don't need to spend a ridiculous amount of time researching what to invest in, how to invest. Can I even afford to invest? Get started today. So if you already have a 401k through your employer, consider going in, increasing your future contributions. If you haven't done anything to start a retirement account, open a Roth IRA with Vanguard and start saving for your retirement. All right, I need you to count them off.
I won.
2, 3, 4, 5. Okay.
I was fine.
All right, thank you.